coming up tonight on the news at 6. The latest on a road project in downtown Helena and when you can expect to see work start. Plus, a father-son duo uncovered the find of a lifetime.
From Montana's news leader, this is MTN News at 6.
Good evening. Welcome to the news at 6. I'm Marian Davidson. Thanks for joining us. Well, today, a state of emergency declared at the Fort Peck, Assiniboine, and Sioux tribes, both in Roosevelt County. According to a tribal health officer order, non-essential business and operations must stop, gatherings of more than 10 people are prohibited, and people are ordered to stay home. Now, this is a developing story, and we'll have the latest details for you tonight at 10, and of course, the latest online. And in Lewis and Clark County, the highest single-day jump in COVID-19 cases was recorded. Health officers reported 33 new cases in the county since Monday. The previous single-day high, 26 cases, reported last Friday. That brings the total number of active cases in Lewis and Clark County to 108. Currently, though, there are no hospitalizations in the county. Lewis and Clark County Sheriff Leo Dutton confirmed more COVID-19 cases among inmates in the county detention center. The total, 4 inmates who have tested positive in 2 residential pods. All the inmates in those pods are quarantined through the end of next week. Dutton says they are working with judges, attorneys, and public health to determine how to handle the inmates' court appearances. 7 detention center employees have also tested positive for COVID-19 out of about 50 who were tested. Dutton says they took a staff member off of each shift at the jail, and they've been able to adjust.
We're absorbing it, not easily, but we're absorbing it. We're making it work. And hats off to the detention staff for stepping up and doing this.
The sheriff's office has also secured outside locations that can be used to isolate inmates who tested positive for COVID-19, but Dutton says they have not had to use those yet. All right, now it's time for First Weather with Chief Meteorologist Curtis Grevenitz.
Well, good evening, everybody. A beautiful day out there. Taking a live look at Georgetown Lake. It's almost hard to tell where the water ends and the sky begins. No, it's not that hard, but blue all around here for the entire state. However, a little smoke and a little haze could be headed back towards the state here. Fires are still raging in California. There still is a lot of dense smoke in that area. Also out there just east of Lewiston, we've got a little in the way of some wildfire smoke that is building here. But watch what happens as we go through Wednesday into Thursday. The axis of smoke starts heading up towards the state here. Once again, I don't think it will be as bad as a few weeks ago. Remember when we had the entire state looking at unhealthy air quality for most of the week. But through Thursday, we likely will have some smoke in the sky here, mainly from wildfires into California. Friday, notice that smoke, though, starts to dissipate. But more picture-perfect fall weather, although some changes for tomorrow from today, not as far as the sky conditions go. Another smoke show headed our way and rare rain. I'll let you know who could see a couple of showers coming up.
All right, thanks for that, Curtis. And a major street construction project in Helena, initially planned for this year, has now been pushed back. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian tells us what is going on with the Rodney Street project.
On Monday, the Helena City Commission rejected the only bid they received for the first phase of the Rodney Street project. That means work on the project won't begin until at least the spring. The only bid came from Helena Sand and Gravel for $2.8 million. City engineer Ryan Leland says they didn't receive as much interest in the project as they hoped. He believes that's because many contractors have been busier than usual.
Some of the bid items came in higher than the estimate, so we want to go back and take a look at it and see if there's anything we can do to change the plans, or why was it different than what we had estimated.
The first phase of work will be on Rodney Street between Broadway and 9th Avenue. City leaders want to rebuild the roadway, put in new water and sewer lines, and improve curbs, gutters, and landscaping along the street. The Rodney Street project was initially expected to start this spring, but Leland says it was delayed because of an extended design and public comment process. The city had to make changes to the original design to address concerns from nearby business owners that the work would make the street too narrow. The city now plans to put the work back up for bid early next year. Leland said waiting won't significantly delay the completion date.
We came up to winter and we weren't going to get much done. They would start, but it'd be minimal just because they'd be worried about getting caught by weather and not being able to close it up with asphalt.
Now, I talked to one of the Rodney Street business owners who was concerned about the original plan for the Rodney Street project. He said he's pleased with some of the design changes the city has made, and he said that he'd rather have the work begin in the spring than start in the fall and have to be stopped in the middle. In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
The city will also begin working this winter on plans and taking public input for the second phase of the Rodney Street project between 9th Avenue and Helena Avenue. And also in roads and traffic, more than 30 people commented in person at informational meetings related to the 5-point intersections in Helena. Meetings were held over the last 2 days for a multimodal traffic study to address safety, operations, access, and connectivity needs at the T intersections and connecting corridors. Commenters ranged from business owners to area residents. Project manager Scott Randall says the intersections function fairly well from a vehicle point of view, just moving cars and trucks through. However, most complaints received are about pedestrians and bikes moving through the intersections.
So about, connectivity, about making sure that you can make certain turning movements and you can access the areas you want without having to go different routes, and making sure it's just safe for all users and not just prioritizing vehicles.
Randall says they will now look at the input and hope to have recommendations by the end of the year. People are still able to leave a comment about the intersections online, and you can find out how on our website, ktvh.com. And firefighters are still working to fully contain the Bridger Foothills fire. Now, if you plan on hiking there, Forest Service officials have a few things they want you to keep in mind. MTN's Gabby Kravitz reports.
There's no question about it. Hikes in the Bridger Mountains, including the M Trail, are some of the most popular trails in the area. But is now the right time to be hiking in the Bridgers? Put simply, yes and no.
The west side of the Bridgers, those trails are open. However, Bridger Bowl trails south are closed.
The U.S. Forest Service says if you go beyond the M, don't go beyond the ridgeline.
So that ridgeline is really the dividing area. Please don't go over the ridgeline to the east side. Firefighters are still working the areas.
The Forest Service says generally it's best to avoid hiking the trails when it's too crowded. But if you're dead set on hiking the western part of the Bridgers and past the M, keep this in mind.
We do have invasive species is a concern on the forest. We can really use the public's help in being able to not be a vector for spreading invasive weeds.
Those invasive weeds include leafy spurge, hound's tongue, as well as thistles. Best practices before heading up beyond the M: check your feet and gear for burrs. Also, check your dog, who may unknowingly be carrying some burrs up the hill. Most importantly, stay on the trail. It's likely you will encounter some of the burned area, and those are the spots that are most important to protect from invasive weeds.
Everything is burned, and invasive species are very easy to be able to take hold and easily spread at this point.
So while it is permitted to go and inspect some of the burned area, it should be done carefully and responsibly. And you can find a full list of hiking trails that are open in the Bridger Mountains by visiting our website. Reporting in Bozeman, Gabby Kravitz, MTN News.
Still ahead on the news at 6, the find of a lifetime, what one father-son duo uncovered, coming up.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching MTN News at 6.
Welcome back to the news at 6. A monster fossil discovery by a Helena father and son has created an unforgettable learning opportunity for some of the Montana Learning Center's campers. MTN's John Riley reports.
Keith and Rodney Caldwell were excited to attend the Carter County Museum Dino Shindig this July in Ekalaka. But little did they know, they discover an ancient Leviathan.
One evening, we decided to go out and look for some invertebrate fossils like clams and oysters and stuff like that. And then while we were walking, my dad, he stumbled upon a few vertebrae just sticking out of the ground.
First, we didn't know what we had. We just started, it's a little bit sticking out of the ground, and all this time out there with Heath looking at dinosaur bones for the last several years, it's kind of like, okay, this is a marine reptile
The Caldwells immediately contacted the Carter County Museum, who got a permit to dig up the fossil. They still aren't 100% sure, but believe the fossil is that of a Mosasaurus, a 30 to 60 foot marine reptile that lived more than 66 million years ago. For the discovery, Heath got to name it.
And I thought, you know, if it's a terrifying animal, it was the apex predator of the ocean at that time. So I thought naming it after my mom, Vicky, I thought that's a very fitting name for such a scary animal.
By happenstance, Heath was a junior counselor for the Montana Learning Center who had a camp scheduled in the area in the following weeks. Instead of just looking for fossils, the teen campers spent 3 days helping researchers excavate the fossil find and learning firsthand what paleontologists do. Executive Director Ryan Hanaho says it was an amazing opportunity.
This is a huge opportunity because the kids can contribute to real, meaningful, publishable science.
In addition to their work on Vicky, the campers also created an exhibit at the Carter County Museum with their other finds. Finding a fossil, even a small one like this guy, is pretty exciting. Finding one that's larger than a school bus while also contributing to the field of paleontology, that's unforgettable. Reporting in Helena, John Riley, MTN News.
All right, now let's head over to Chief Meteorologist Curtis Grevenitz with what's coming up in weather.
Suddenly I don't feel like I accomplished anything out there today. Taking a look at the drought that continues to grow here throughout a lot of the west. Much of Montana dry, but some areas looking at moderate droughts. I'll let you know if we have any rain headed our way coming up next.
Tracker weather starts now with Chief Meteorologist Curtis Grevenitz.
All right, welcome back, everybody. As I mentioned, a lot of the state dry. That's where you see that yellow, but the tannish color is where we have moderate drought. And this has been progressively getting worse over the last few months. It's been very dry since the end of July. Great Falls looks very dry. This is actually Geyser looking at the Highwoods here, but beautiful sky. 79 degrees. The record, we made it up to the lower 80s today. The record 91, set back in 1967. West wind still gusting up to 24 miles per hour. And a gorgeous day, warm for the end of September in Helena. Not too far away, actually, from the record high. Record high is 84, set back in 1967. We're currently at 80 degrees right now. Starting to cool off just a skosh up here along the high line of the Canadian border. Williston, North Dakota at about 64, but a lot of the states still up into the 70s and even the lower 80s. Billings hit 85 earlier. It's warm, it's dry. We've got wind. These are the sustained wind speeds, some gusts up to 20, 25, even 30 miles per hour. And we actually have a new fire that just started southwest of the Three Forks area. So these fires, not a lot going on here with the existing fires like the Drumming Fire, the Bridger Foothills Fire, or even the State Creek Fire, that one up there by Whitetail Reservoir. But not a lot of information here on this one just yet. But here's Three Forks. There would be Homestake Pass, and there is just a small fire that is producing a pretty good smoke plume right here. Just saw that on the satellite. Could be potentially called the Antelope Fire, but you know, this area right here, a lot of sage and ponderosa pine and some rough terrain in there, and firefighters are responding to that fire as I speak right now. But not a lot going on as far as wet weather out west. A lot of much needed rain, believe it or not, on the East Coast, where they're pretty dry in New England. Wind advisories for the Dakotas, red flag warnings. So there are some pretty big fires burning into southeastern parts of Wyoming as well. And California still dealing with nasty air because of the wildfire smoke there. So again, besides that new fire, potentially named the Antelope Fire, just to the southwest of Three Forks, not much activity on Montana's fires, but the fires into California continue to burn. Some good activity into Utah and also Colorado, Wyoming, western Idaho, out there by Lewiston. There are some good fires that are going as well. And once this high starts to slide off towards the east, it's going to pull some of that smoke back towards Montana as we get into Thursday. So for tonight, tomorrow, just a few clouds coming through. Tomorrow, a much cooler day by about 15 to 20 degrees, but still nice and sunny out there. Less wind, which is certainly nice. Thursday, a few high clouds. Late Friday, there may actually be a couple of rain showers into far eastern Montana. Very light, though, and few and far between. And then Saturday, Sunday, looking dry and warm here for most of the west, not just Montana. Here's the forecast for tonight. Getting a little cooler as a minor front again will be moving through the state, so not quite as mild as it was last night. 30s and 40s here for most locations. Here's the forecast for tomorrow. Front pushing down to the south. A little high pressure coming in. We'll see more of a north flow. And look at these high temperatures. After today's highs in the 70s and 80s, we'll be down into the 50s and the 60s for most of the state tomorrow with mostly sunny skies. It's still a really beautiful fall day. For Thursday, getting a little warmer, back into the 70s for a few areas like Great Falls and Helena, Bozeman out there around Missoula. Again, mostly sunny and dry. For Friday, there could be a couple of showers far eastern Montana, but most of the state, 60s and 70s and mostly sunny once again. And then heading into the weekend, the 1st of October, the first weekend of October that is, 60s and 70s with mostly sunny skies. Helena, that smoke likely coming overhead Wednesday night into Thursday morning, but it should move out on Friday, and I do not think our air quality will suffer that much. And for Great Falls, looking at a much cooler day tomorrow by about 20 degrees, some smoke Thursday, and then pretty nice through the weekend.
Coming up, the first presidential debate is tonight, and some Montanans say they will be watching. We'll tell you what they want to see.
News Leader. You're watching MTN News at 6.
Welcome back. The first presidential debate is coming up in less than an hour, and we wanted to know, are people planning to watch? As MTN's Coulter Anstadt found out, not only do people say they will tune in, they also believe that a lot is riding on it.
If the people I spoke to are any indication, plenty of Americans will likely be kicking up their feet and turning on their TVs to watch tonight's debate. Everyone I spoke to had at least one issue in mind they hope to hear the candidates speak about, and they all agree this will be an important and historic debate.
This election's all about this country, whether we're going socialist or we're remaining a free Republican like we have been.
They still need to be able to make a decision between the competitors.
I haven't seen much of Joe Biden. He hasn't been on TV much. I want to see how he performs, what he has to say, and how he deals with the debate with Donald Trump.
You could say local residents' reasons for wanting to watch the presidential debate are a representation of the two candidates they'll be watching. Similar, yet different. Both candidates have had terms in the White House, Trump as the current president and Biden as vice president for 8 years, but that's about where their similarities end. As for what locals want to hear,
there's a lot of issues. Immigration's a big one, especially with this COVID thing. And then that ties right in with this COVID. How long this lockdown's going on, everything else, it's, everything, we're not getting the truth from the media.
In my opinion, I think they seriously need to talk about being nice to each other.
I'm interested in the economy and how the economy is going to improve. I'm interested in the Supreme Court and also how Biden would handle the COVID, whether he would have a lockdown or not.
All that's left to do now is tune in and find out. Tonight's debate starts at 7 o'clock. In Great Falls, Coulter Anstadt, MTN News.
And as Coulter said, that debate is tonight at 7, and you can watch it right here on KTVH. And then tune in again for the news at 10, because we'll have a recap for you. And when we come back, we'll wrap things up on the news at 6.
From Montana's News Leader, you're watching MTN News at 6.
All right, well, that does it for the news at 6 here. And if you missed any of this, you can also check things on OTT, that's online, and on your favorite streaming device. And then also make sure to stay here on KTVH, because the presidential debate starts at 7, and then tune in again at 10 o'clock for the news at 10. We'll have a recap of that debate and your latest headlines. All right, that does it for the news at 6. See you at 10.